Hi everyone, I have been enjoying following the minimalist journey of Mina here on YouTube, and I will leave a link to her fabulous channel in the description box below. She has been sharing the minimalist journey as well as a journey of early retirement for her husband on her channel, and it has been so inspiring, and it has caused me to look into my own life, into my own space, into my mind and thoughts, to declutter some things that are clogging things up. And so that can be represented in my thoughts as well as represented in how I live and the things around me. So in this video, I'm touching on one of the things around me that needs to be decluttered. And that happens to be my makeup brushes. I shared a video before previously that I'll leave a link to in the description box below, where I went through my eyeshadow collection and I got rid of about half of my eyeshadows. So today I'm going to be going through my makeup brushes. I have my makeup brushes in a glass jar and it's really becoming over full, and I'm noticing that I definitely do not use all of those brushes at all. So it's time to go through them and decide which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to get rid of. And so I'm going to share that process with you in this video. Okay, so here is my collection of makeup brushes. I keep them in this glass container, and the problem that I'm having with this container right now is that one, I'm not using all of the brushes, and two, it is filled to the max, and because it's filled, I have a hard time getting to the brushes that I use. So I have two options. The first option would be to use another container and just split the brushes up, and the second option is to get rid of the brushes that I don't need or that I'm no longer using, so that I have room to actually use and be able to access the brushes that I actually use. And I'm going to go with that option of just seeing how far down I can cut my collection to make room for the brushes that I actually use. Brushes that I'm going to keep, I'm going to place in this jar right here, and I'm going to start a pile on this side of the brushes that I will be giving away or donating. So let's start with this brush here. This is a brush by e.l.f. and it is a total face brush, and I do not use this brush. If I were going to use this brush, I would use it for either applying powder all over my face or blush. But I typically will grab this brush here to apply blush. So instead of keeping this one, I'm going to keep this one. This is a generic brush. I believe it came in a set that I picked up from either Target or a drugstore set, but I love it. I've had it for a while. It is actually falling apart, but I'm going to keep it because I still get great use out of it. Now for applying powder all over my face, I use this brush. This is a brush by, and I will show you the company because I don't want to butcher the name. And if you can't see it, I'll be sure to put the name of the company on the bottom of the screen. But I love this little brush. I use it for applying powder all over the face, as well as applying my finishing powder. After I have finished applying my powder, I use a finishing powder, and this is the brush that I use. So I'll definitely keep this brush. This brush here is a MAC brush that I used to use for foundation. However, it started to shed some time ago, and so I switched to using. This is by the same company as this brush, but this is the brush that I use for foundation. It has started to shed a little bit as well, but not nearly as much as this brush began to shed. So I really don't have a need for both of them, so I am going to put the MAC brush in this pile, and then I'm going to hold on to this one. And I like the shape and the size of this one a little better anyway, so definitely gonna keep that. This brush here is another brush by e.l.f. and it is a powder brush, and it has an interesting shape brush. But I don't use this one. I have just never gravitate towards it. I'm not reach for it, so I'm going to put it there. Speaking of contouring, for contouring, I typically use this brush. Again, this is a generic brush from maybe a Target set or a drugstore set, and I have used this to contour my cheeks and my face for quite some time now. It is the one that I reach for. It's probably not even the best for that, perhaps. I don't know. I may need one a little smaller, but this is the one that really works for my face shape. And I think that's important when we're looking at brushes, that you don't always have to use what someone else is using, because our faces are different. And so instead of just going by the title on the brush, you can sometimes find that, hey, the brush may be intended for one use, but for your face and for your hand, you find that the brush is best for another use. So for certain brushes, you may want to try them for purposes outside of what they are advertised for. Okay, so I'm keeping that one. And this is a contour brush by Real Techniques. And I don't use this for contouring. I actually use this to apply powder underneath my eye when I highlight my eye, underneath my eye with concealer. I apply a powder and I apply it with this, and I love it for that. So although it says contour brush, I don't use it for contouring. So I found another purpose for it, and it works really well for that for me. So I'm definitely going to keep that brush. This brush here is a powder brush by Mary Kay. Now, I recently purchased a set of brushes from Mary Kay, and most of them I have not tried. So I will be keeping those just to see how they work, and I will revisit my collection a little bit later and decide if I'm going to replace some of my older brushes with these new Mary Kay brushes, or if I will just be passing these along as well. So I'm going to keep this just so I can try it out. And this is a Mary Kay eye colored brush, and I have used this and it worked pretty well, but I'm going to hold on to it because I think it may work better after I've kind of broken it in. But I'm going to hold on to it to see how well it works. But this is my favorite brush for applying eye color. This is my MAC blending brush. I think that's what it's called, the blending brush. I can't see the number, but this is the brush that I use for applying eye color. I really love this brush, so I'm going to keep that. This is another brush for eye color, and this is the e.l.f. brush. And the same goes for this brush. This is an e.l.f. smudge brush that works okay, but I have this MAC smudge brush that works a lot better for me. So I will be keeping this brush here, and the e.l.f. brush I will be giving to someone else. This is my Sephora fan brush. I use this brush to apply highlight on my nose and forehead area, and I do enjoy using this brush, so I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to move that in a little bit closer. This is a brush that again came from the set that I referred to earlier that was either a Target set or a drugstore set, but I used this to apply my concealer underneath my eye for a highlight. I use this a lot, so I'm going to keep that one. And I have here these two brushes that also came from that set as well, and they're almost identical, but I use this brush here to apply concealer underneath my brow to highlight my brow. And although they are almost identical, I don't use this one nearly as much. So I'm going to keep that brush and give this one away. Okay, what else do I have here? I have a cheek brush by Mary Kay. And again, I'm going to keep these because I just purchased them and I want to see how they work. Okay, so this is interesting here. Now these brushes here, I have to give some thought to because for my brows, I use the Anastasia Dip Brow. And the Anastasia Dip Brow comes with this brush here. And it has this angle brush and then this type of brush on the end. And I definitely have to keep this because this goes with my dip brow and I use that often. But I'm going to have to decide which one of these to keep because I don't need two because I don't use these that often. And these are, well, I use, like I said, I use the Anastasia brows, this Anastasia brush. So the reason that I would want to keep one of these is because at times I do like to have these wide brushes for my brow because at times I need something a little more than this, and I enjoy having these large brushes here, but I have two. This one is Mary Kay and this one is e.l.f. I've had this one for a while and I haven't had any problems with it. It works fine. However, this brush here came with Mary Kay, so I really don't have a need for both, so I'm going to keep the Mary Kay one. It has the angle brush on the edge, so I'll just hold on to that one and pass this one along. Okay, here, this is a little brush that I use for my gel liner, so I'm definitely going to keep that. This is a brush that looks like it came in that set that I referred to from the drugstore Target. I don't use this brush. I'm going to put that there. This is a e.l.f. professional foundation brush, and I do not use this for foundation or for any other reason, so I'm going to put it there. This is a Sigma large powder brush. I do use this brush. I use this brush to apply my bronzer all over my face. So I've definitely been using this. And sometimes I also use it for setting powder. And this so I'm going to keep this. But this is a bronzer brush here. Now, like I just said, I use this to apply my bronzer. But I used to use this. But I noticed that this particular season, I haven't used this at all. But I think I'm going to keep them both because I may find another use for this. They're not exactly the same. But I do like both of them. So I'm gonna put that right there and think about whether or not I want to keep that one or let it go. This brush here is a pointed foundation brush, but again, at times you find other uses for them. I actually use this to contour my nose. I use it quite often to contour my nose. Actually, this is one of the only brushes I use to contour my nose. Sometimes I use this brush if I want a lighter contour, a less defined contour on my nose. I will use this, and sometimes I will actually use this one on my face as well, but this is the Sigma small contour, so I will keep that. And I am down to a very small group of brushes now. So this is the Stila brush that came with I think this came with my foundation. Or what did it come with? It came with my Stila foundation, I think. And you see it still has the plastic on it. I have not used that, so that will go into that pile. This is a Real Technique brush. This is a base shadow brush, but I don't use this because I use my MAC shadow brush. So that will go there. This is another Real Technique accent brush. I do not use that. This is a MAC, an angle powder brush, eyeshadow brush, and I don't see the official name. Okay, it's the 275. And I use this in my crease area. If you can see, it's angled. There's a little bit of an angle, so it's great for the crease area, so I definitely use that. This is the Deluxe Crease Brush by Real Techniques. I've been playing around with this one. I've used it a few times, but because I'm so accustomed to using this brush, I typically don't grab this, but I have been reaching for it from time to time just to see how it works and see if I can get better use applying my crease shadows with this than I do with this. But I think both of these together would be great to keep on hand for different looks. So I'm going to still hold on to that brush. And let's see what else I have here. This is a buffing brush. Now, I use this every once in a while. I use it from time to time as a contour brush. I haven't used it, I guess, as a buffing brush, but I do use it from time to time as a contour brush. I'm gonna set it right there and come back to it. Now, the final brushes that I have here, this is a detailer brush. I have not used that, but I don't know, I may use it. I'm gonna put it there though. This is a brow brush from Real Technique. Don't use that. And this is a Real Technique fine liner brush. And I don't use this. I just use my smudge brush and my other brush that came with my gel liner. And this is another little brow brush that I don't need. I have that covered. This is a eye crease brush, one that came in that set from Mary Kay that I'm going to keep so that I can try those out. So I'll put that there. Now the last few brushes, this is a detailer brush by, this is the detailer brush by Real Technique. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. Okay, these are both gel liner brushes, and if you remember before, I decided to keep the other gel liner brush, but I am going to compare the three, and I only need one. So, they're so small. Let's see where it is. Okay. All right, so this is the other gel brush, and actually, this one is a little larger, so I am going to keep that one, and then I'll choose between these two. And it looks like this one has the least amount of use, so I'm going to get that one. And now down to these two that I also had sort of on standby to decide whether or not I would keep. I'm going to keep this one because I do use it, and I also want to find out some other uses, to use it as a buffing brush. I'm not sure what that means for this brush, but I want to find out. So I'm going to keep that, and I'm also going to keep this retractable bronzer brush. It pulls out. I'm going to keep that. Okay, so these are the brushes that I'm giving away or donating, and these are the brushes that I will keep. And as you can see, I have a considerable amount of room in here compared to before. All of the brushes go all the way down to the bottom, and it fits nicely. I can see my brushes better, and I can definitely access my brushes better with all of these out. So I will come back to this in the weeks to come and definitely make a decision on the Mary Kay brushes to find out if those brushes work. If they work, then I will replace some of my older brushes with the new Mary Kay brushes. But if I find that those Mary Kay brushes don't work as well as my old tried and true ones, then I will pass on those Mary Kay brushes. I definitely know some people who would be happy to sanitize them and use them. So that is my makeup brush decluttering. I hope that this video has been motivational for you. And I thank you so much for watching. Be happy, live full, love life, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.